Today's episode of the Outline Podcast is brought to you by Loot Crate, a monthly subscription box of exclusive pop culture collectibles, apparel, and gear. The crate includes 4+ items from your favorite pop culture franchises, a t-shirt every month, and more licensed and exclusive items, collectibles, gear, figures, and more. It's a $45 or more value in every crate. You can try it by going to www.trylootcrate.com/outlinepod. Once again, that's trylootcrate.com/outlinepod. Today's episode is also brought to you by Audible. Audible is offering one free audiobook and 30 days free to the listeners of the Outline Podcast. You can redeem this by going to www.audibletrial.com/outlinepod. Once again, audibletrial.com/outlinepod. Let's start the show. Outline. With Kevin Dwayne. The Outline, with Kevin Dwayne, This is the Outline, with Kevin Dwayne, Kevin Dwayne, with Kevin Dwayne. You say you got a girl, and how you want me, you got a girl. The feeling is reckless of knowing you're selfish, knowing I'm desperate, getting all in your love, falling all over love, like do it the last laugh. Okay, I ain't gonna fuck with y'all today. Listen, SZA, I just love her so much. Outside of The Weeknd, like that whole album, like, I love her so much, so much. But y'all really, well, no, I won't say everyone, I won't generalize, but a lot of people have been trying to give SZA slack for Weeknd, and I don't understand it. She's not the first person to sing about infidelity or being a side chick or anything of the sort. So I feel like this hate is misplaced, especially with other rap music singing about everything, and then most R&B male artists sing about being like cheating on their dudes anyway. So I'm like, why are y'all giving her so much heat for this song for talking about a truth? Like, it's somebody's truth. It may not be her truth, it's somebody's truth, and she's giving a voice to people who don't have one. So what the fuck is the problem? Let's not act like monogamy is really just the name of the game for everybody, because it's not. And also, someone also pointed this out too. It's not a battle cry for everybody to be a side chick. It's just a story. So what the fuck? And she's not the first. Like, side chick anthems go way back, or side nigga anthems either. Come on, me and Mrs. Jones. We got a thing going on, and we know that it's wrong. Like, come on now. Woman to woman. She said, the clothes on his back, I bought them. That's stupid as hell, but I bought them. Come on. It's morning, and now it's time for us to say goodbye. Goodbye, nigga. You're leaving me. I know you gotta go. Hurry home to face your wife. Nigga. Wife. Side chick anthem. Let's fast forward a little bit further. What we got? You're the one for me. You can call on me. First verse. I know that you're somebody else's guy. Come on now. Coco did it. He's mine. You may have had him once, but I got him all the time. Where is Moke and Steph's unsung? Where's their unsung? I want to see an unsung of Moke and Steph. They had one song. They could do a good hour off of that. They could do a good hour off of that. Let's see. What else we got? Some other ones. If you leave her, I'll leave him. We'll pack our bags. Don't say a word. Let's go far away to another place. We'll hide away. Oh, just you and me. I peeped game long time ago when he told me. Okay, I'm gonna stop there. Sideline ho. When you call his phone, did he pick it up? No, cause we was making love. Man, side chick anthems have been around for a minute. Y'all need to get off of SZA. Leave her the hell alone. Like, leave her alone. Like, she ain't do nothing except tell the truth. And y'all mad at the truth because some of y'all niggas is messing with side chicks. Or maybe you are the side chick and you don't want nobody to know. All that to say is, it's somebody's story. It may not be your story, but it doesn't have to match your moral compass to be a good song. So stop it with the think pieces already. That's all I am going to say about that. But anyway, welcome to the outline, you guys. Thank you so much for joining me for another show. Thanks for the support from last week's show. I know the show was like super, super upbeat for a cool minute, and I had that nice little drop off at the end where I talked about sexual assault and stuff like that. And I got a lot of feedback, a lot of positive feedback for the most. Well, actually, it was all positive, honestly. No one has come at me like negatively because they know I don't play that shit. But thank you for all you sent texts and messages and the shout outs. Shout out to Trilificent on Gay Side Stories. Shout out to Brandon on the Healing Space podcast, among others. Many people have really just reached out their love and support. And, you know, people were like, oh, I'm so sorry that happened to you. And I was like, well, thank you for, you know, feeling that way and, you know, sending your love. But I want to let you all know that I'm good. I really am in a good headspace about it. I think I just needed to release that and, you know, just put the story out there and let it be known that me too, you know what I mean? So thank you for the love and support on that. And also the rest of the show, I know you guys were sending me all your favorite quotables from that show. I know I was in quite rare form last week with the storytelling. But, you know, sometimes you gotta tell the stories because these niggas, they're just so interesting, you know? They're interesting. I even have one for you. I even have a story for you. I'll tell you one right now. And it's not a recent one, but I was just thinking about it because I don't really get the culture of internet niggas sometimes. All right, so we do live in a time where catfish is a real ass thing. You know, it's a whole show on MTV, you know? But I don't get how it's still happening to people and that people are still, you know, doing it. But people, they do. They steal people's pictures and all that shit. So you have to be sure. But then on the flip side, I want to know how many fucking pictures do I need to send you for you to be sure that you want to fuck? Like, how many? Because I'm the type of person, I don't hide behind veils at all. Like, I'm the one who has, like, for Jack, for instance, I have 3 pictures up there, and one's a close-up, serious face, one's a close-up, smiling. Another one is full body, okay? And then if we get to the private sector, you know, I got different angles of the booty and all that stuff. So there's no surprises to be had. You're literally, what you see is what you're going to get. So when dudes be like, oh, send me pics, send me more pics. I'm like, nigga, I'm not sending you a whole Flickr account of photos. Like, either we're going to do this or we are not. But I am not about to unload my camera roll just so you can feel comfortable. That's stupid. Especially when you got one raggedy ass photo from 2007, MySpace days and shit, and you get all of my glamour and you want more pics, get the fuck out of here. I had this one situation where this guy hit me up and we're chatting or whatever, you know, and it was on some let's fuck type shit. That's usually what it's on, to be honest with you. And, you know, he's like, oh, you know, I'm feeling, you know, I'm kind of horny, blah, blah. And I'm like, you know what? Me too, you know, so, you know, let's go ahead and do this. So we, you know, we exchange a couple photos. Cool. So he's like, well, I'm trying to come through. I said, bet, come through. He was like, send me your address. Send him my address, right? He's like, I'm on my way. Bet. So I go to pave the roads, you know, make sure there's no debris blocking, you know, vehicles entering the, you know, the highway. And then I get another text like 5 minutes later, hey, send me another pic. Nigga, why? You've already closed the deal. You're already on your fucking way. What do you need another picture for? Do you really need some kind of motivation to get from your door to your car to here? And you're only like 5 miles away? Like, what the fuck? Why do you need another picture? I just want to see another picture. I just want to. For what? For what? You're already on your way to fuck. I'm about to be sitting on your face in like 10 minutes. Why do you need another fucking photo? How many do you need? How many? Like, what nigga go and buy a fucking car and say, hey, can I see that pamphlet real quick? Nigga, here are the keys. Drive this bitch. Why do you need the pamphlet? Oh, I just want to see if there's leather seats in it. Nigga, you're sitting on them. Like, niggas will talk themselves out of booty sometimes. I swear. Like, where do y'all who raised y'all? Where do y'all get these antics from? Like what and I think that what it is we can never see what's going on in their minds. And I speak this as a nigga. I'm a nigga. But I feel like I explain myself though when I explain my logic. And sometimes people do things. I'm like, what is your logic here? Because if you've seen 3 photos of me at different angles and a couple nudes as well, seen the body, all this shit, what else is there that you need from your door to my door? We already said that we were going to fuck. So I'm not understanding the disconnect here. But I don't know. That was a big turnoff to me. I don't get the picture culture, especially if I come into it with like full exposure. Like if I have like, I don't have any block photos, I'm not playing the game. But how many photos, and why do you want so many photos? And I get kind of anxious about that too, because Tumblr is real. And I know a lot of people will bait niggas on like Tinder and Facebook, Instagram, Jacked. And then they'll post their profiles on Tumblr, with their nudes and everything. I can't say I'd be mad, like, oh my God, my nudes are up, because they look very good. I mean, I put in work. My nudes aren't bad. But still, I don't necessarily want to just willingly give my shit up to have it posted online. Like, that's trash. So, I don't know. Guys are weird. And between that and this whole show me the whole generation. So, it used to be a time where you could just send an ass pic. And that's it. But now niggas are doing appraisals of the booty hole. Like, real talk. They'll be like, oh, send me a pic of that hole. And I'm like, I'm not doing that, because that sounds like some young shit, and who has the time? But yeah, that's like a whole nother thing that the young kids are doing now. And it's weird as fuck. And how exactly do you get a picture of that? Like, how? Like, do you put the camera on the bathroom counter? Like, how do you get a picture of the actual entrance of your anus? Like, I don't know. And I was at a onesie party last night, and we were talking about this, and they started going in about rosebudding and some shit. Rosebudding is, I guess, when the interest becomes like inflamed. Now, some people were like, oh, that's because it's somebody who's probably been fucked a lot or some shit like that, blah blah blah. And I'm like, possibly, but I also see a lot of porn stars who've been in the game for a long time, and they don't seem to have that issue. It could very well just be fucking warts. It could be hemorrhoids and shit that just happen from just life. So I don't know that that's a good appraisal of how much someone's been fucked. But once again, niggas are always off base when it comes to sexual things. They never think that part. They always go into the shaming part. Like, and I apologize for the background noise. I guess I'm doing this right when everybody wants to do their fucking gardening. So if you hear background noise, it is what it is. We'll keep going. It's an ambiance. But I feel like people are always off base when it comes to sexual things. Like, we like to try to have these ideas of judging how sexual someone is, or if they're this, or if they're a prostitute. And it's not accurate. It's not accurate at all. For example, like that whole creaming on the dick thing, that's not a thing, you guys. I talked about it in the sex episode with Kels Tatted Up when he was on the show. That's not a thing. Like, that's not from pleasure. Stop lying to yourself. The reason that you see that white quote unquote cream when you're having sex with somebody, what is happening is when someone cleans themselves out, when they fleet and stuff like that, and you're having intense sex, the colon actually admits like it's like a lube almost. It's emitting it to protect the anus from tearing. And that's why that happens. And it mixes in with the lube and it looks like it's like ejaculate, but it's actually not ejaculate and it doesn't come from pleasure. It might feel better because it's creating a, a flow or whatever, but nah, like that's not like, it's not cum, it's not ejaculate. And I'm so sick of people saying that, like, oh, let me make that ass cream. Nigga, that's because you're hurting me. And my body's trying to protect itself from getting torn the fuck up. It's not from pleasure at all. And that does not mean that I don't actually get to bust a nut either. Like, so whatever. That enough about the niggas, enough about that. But thanks, all that to say, thanks for all the support of the last show. I know you guys enjoyed it. I will gladly include more stories of the sort in the podcast if that's what you guys enjoy, because I have plenty of them. So there's that. So what else is going on? It's November 1st. Thank God. This is a time of the year that I enjoy because it's just downhill from here. It's really about enjoying your family, enjoying the holidays, and just kind of winding down from the bullshit of the rest of the year. Halloween was fun, and I'm not even a big Halloween person, but this year was a good time. I went to 2 parties on Saturday. They both were phenomenal. The first one was a friend of mine named Christopher. He did the damn thing. Like, he decorated the fuck out of his place. He and his partner, Malcolm. There were like a million spiders. They were coming down from the ceiling and shit. There was fucking smoke and fog and shit. The playlist was very appropriate for Halloween. Candy, shots, and food layout, like they really did up. It was a very good time. I went as a vampire. I wanted to be a thotty zombie vampire, but the weather wasn't really working with me for that. I initially had some pants that were torn up and the ass was out, but then I was like, this isn't really as functional as I wanted it to be, especially when it was raining and cold. And I had a cape, but that cape was kind of flimsy, so it could have easily fell off, and I was like, I'd be assed out. And in hindsight, it would have been awkward because niggas were grabbing my ass. The second party I went to, niggas kept grabbing my ass anyway, and I was like, see, if my ass was out, that would have been a weird-ass moment. So I'm glad I went with just wearing regular slacks. But yeah, I was trying to be a little more, because I was too covered up. And I'm like, I'm too covered up, and that's disappointing for Halloween. That's when you're supposed to thought it up, and be very thoughtful. So I went with the Blackula look. I had on an afro. I put on a little bit of like eyeliner on my eyes, and like I did like kind of like highlights on the cheekbones and shit. I found this little tutorial on YouTube and was like, oh, okay, that's cute. Let me try this. And it worked out. I enjoyed my outfit. Most people understood it. There were a couple people who were like, so who are you? I'm like, nigga, like, do you see the fangs? Like I actually had the fangs that you mold to your teeth. You mold them. Yeah, so I actually had 2 fangs molded to my teeth. I did the whole gamut, and still people like, oh, what are you? Nigga, Blackula. Like, vampire in Brooklyn. Like, what the fuck? And you too damn old not to know what a vampire looks like. So it was a good time. I enjoyed it. The second party was awesome as well. Lots of decorations, zombies at the door and shit, and stuff in different rooms. And there was a full bar in the garage. Ran into Grab Your Jimmy, who was also on the show. Shout out to him. He gave me a bobby pin to hold down my wig because it was kind of moving around. So shout out to him for that. I had a good time. I had a very, very good time. It was a fun Halloween. And I do see how when you dress up and put effort into your look, it does make it a more enjoyable time. So I probably will do that again next year. Side note. So something I've been kind of noticing. Now, I've never really had an issue when it came to like people coming on to me and stuff like that. But I'm hitting a place now where people that I have been like, I guess, cool with, like as friends, or people who've not really even shown me any kind of attention are now showing me attention. And it's weird for me because I'm like, Is it because of how I look now, or what is it? Because I tell people I lost weight, I didn't lose my memory. So this shit's not gonna work. And so at the second party I was at, like, there were a couple guys who were like, who I've known before. You know, we've been in the same like environments a few times, and they were not checking for me at all, or at least it didn't seem that way. Who were like mad touchy feely at the party, like on some sexual shit, like, oh damn, like, ooh, what's this? And touching on my ass and all type of shit. And I was just like, what the fuck? Like, this is new. And I don't know, it's weird to me. Like, I'm flattered that, you know, I'm now on your radar. That's dope. But at the same time, I like, part of me feels like it's only because of how I look right now. And I mean, listen, I don't blame you. That's fine. But I don't know. That was just interesting to me. And I'm still trying to figure out how I feel about it. Cause if you're only here for how I look, what happens if I blow up again like a whale? Like, then what? You know? That, I don't know. I'm just not trying to set nobody up for the okie doke. But that was interesting to me, but that's neither here nor there. I had a great weekend. Sunday was rainy as fuck, so I ended up ordering in and then drinking wine and watching Lord of the Rings. Oh, I'm watching Lord of the Rings. So I was talking to a good friend of mine, Davis. We were talking on Marco Polo. And somehow we got on movies, and he was saying like one of his favorite movies is Lord of the Rings. And I was like, I've never seen that fucking movie, and I've never really been interested either because it's not really my thing. And so he was telling me, he's like, well, I saw that you're really into Game of Thrones. He's like, if you like Game of Thrones, you quite possibly might like Lord of the Rings because it's the same kind of concept of like, you know, middle world. You have the subhumans and the humans, and it's a balance of power. And I was like, you know what? I'll check it out. So Sunday, I was like, fuck it. I queued up the Fire Stick and hit up Lord of the Rings. That motherfucking movie is 3 hours and 48 minutes. My God. So I watched like an hour and a half, and I was into it. And then I took a nap. Woke up, watched another like hour, fell asleep again. Not because it was bad, just because I was in bed and it was a long ass movie. And then finally finished the movie. And I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. And then it's one of those movies that it's an epic. So you have to watch all the films because it's one long ass story. And so come to find out, the other movies are just as long. They 3 and 4 hours too. So I was like, shit. So you're really getting, at the end of the day, you're getting about 12 hours of content between the 3 Lord of the Rings movies. And then they have the whole Hobbit prequel situation, which I probably won't do that. But fast forward to today, which is Wednesday, I've watched 1 and 2. And I watched, what is it called? The first one was Fellowship of the Ring, and I watched the two Towers in completion. Now I'm an hour and 30 minutes into Return of the King. So I'm going to finish it probably later on today. So I'm proud of myself for watching it because I was not interested when it was out. That was back in 2001, 2002, 2003, I believe. And it took them like almost 10 years to finish the entire thing with the hobbits and shit. But I was not into it. But now I enjoy it. It is a very cinematic film. It is a great storyline. And it is very much like Game of Thrones. But yeah, so that's what I've been doing. I pick up some weird watching habits, as you guys have probably noticed, between watching Seinfeld and now this. And hell, I may do Harry Potter next since I've done Lord of the Rings. Shit, why not, expand on, the geek life? So that's what's been going on over the weekend. And now we're back into the week. Like I said, I went to a onesie party for Halloween. I forgot that Halloween was actually on Tuesday because everybody was celebrating over the weekend. So it was kind of like, oh yeah, we're still doing this. But I went to a onesie party, which was fun. It was for somebody's birthday, and we all just chilled and laughed and joked and, told inappropriate jokes, the usual. And that brings us to today. So that's my update. What else is going on in the world? Chrisette Michele. Definitely want to talk about that really quick. So just last week, I was going in on Tina Campbell. But if you notice, I never attacked her as a person or her well-being. It was more or less, I'm just not supporting you. You know what I mean? And I feel like when we cancel people for their decisions, we keep making it seem like we don't care about their well-being or their health. Like, no, I just don't support your decisions. Like, no, fuck your decisions. I don't support you because of that. But I would never want someone to die. I would never want someone to hurt. I would never want someone to be in pain or contemplate suicide or anything like that. Like, that's fucked up. So with Chrisette Michele, she posted that she had a miscarriage and she also lost her record deal. So here comes a lot of think pieces about kind of like, oh, well, girl, fuck you. And I'm like, I can't rock with that. Like, once again, Chrisette Michele, I don't support her decisions. Like, her decision with the whole Trump thing was trash. And she needed to have a seat for that. But I'll never dehumanize her and say that her miscarriage doesn't matter and that her contemplating suicide isn't like, it's just whatever. Like, that's terrible that we live in a world that doesn't care and makes fun of people's shortcomings. So I just wanted to briefly note, like, though I don't agree with her choice to perform at that inauguration and kind of sell herself out for some money, I also am not going to sit here and bash her because she could contemplate suicide and she had a miscarriage or lost her record deal. Like, there's a difference between saying I'm not fucking with you and then being like, oh, you can die. Like, that's trash. So I don't know. I feel like people are really off base with the way they're going about this whole she's canceled thing. And there's a fine line between not supporting someone and just flat out hate. And I'm not going to cross that line. And in the same lines of that, Wendy Williams, as you probably know, yesterday she fainted on her live show. Apparently her costume was too hot and she passed out. Now, Wendy Williams isn't a nice person by any means. As far as like how she goes about her gossip and her slander, her brand is slander. Her brand is keeping up mess and the hot topics and stuff like that. You know, it's been that way. And I get it. She doesn't really have a lot of positivity coming her way because of negativity. But at the same time, her health is still important. And the fact that it wasn't even 10 minutes after she fell out on her show that people were making memes and jokes and calling her names and shit. Once again, there's a difference between not supporting somebody and flat out hate. And what you guys were doing was flat out hate. And I can't rock with it. It's not even funny. And the sad thing about it is she's okay now. But before people even knew she was okay, they were already making those posts like it was all right to do so. And I'm just like, I don't get it. And I get it. Everything's humor. Everything's, oh, haha, everything's so funny. But I feel like that's also, and I hate to generalize, but I feel like that's also a black thing sometimes. A lot of times, instead of talking about real issues, we rather make jokes about it. Or memes, and I think that's a problem. Like, we literally make fun of everything, and that's our way of coping. But coping is not always healing. You're just coping. You're actually just easing the pain, but you're not actually getting to the root of it. And I hate that we're in a culture like that. Everything is a big ass joke, even when it's like serious as fuck, you know? So that kind of went hand in hand, but that is that. So whatever. I want to talk a little bit about judgment. Like, we've all noticed online or in real life, people are always talking about judgment. Like, you always hear the "don't judge me, but I like Sex in the City," or "don't be judging me when you do this and don't do this and don't do that." It's always about judgment. Who are you to judge? And don't look at me, don't judge. Everybody's on this whole judging thing. And it's interesting to me. And once again, this is all opinion. I don't ever call anything fact if it's not fact. It's opinion. This is how I look at it. Everybody judges. It just comes down to it. Everybody judges. But here's the thing. Judgment isn't just negativity. Judgment can be positivity too. And I feel like people only think of judgment as a negative thing. Judgment is literally forming an opinion about someone based on like your perspective. And actually, let me give you the exact definition. Google right now. Noun, judgment. One, the ability to make considered decisions or come to sensible conclusions. Synonyms are discernment, acumen, shrewdness, sense, common sense, perception. I like that one the best. Discrimination, reckoning, wisdom, prudence, sharpness, reason, logic. And then two is a misfortune or calamity viewed as divine punishment. That's like the whole, hell and shit like that are going to, that kind of judgment. So it's making a decision based on your perception. So I can tell someone like, "Oh, I think you're a slut." Okay, that would be a judgment. Okay, whatever. But I can also say, "I think you're really funny. I think you're handsome. I think you're intelligent." Those are judgments too. And I feel like anytime we hear the word judgment, we always think negative and not positive. But also, everyone judges. Everyone. So it's always interesting when people say, "Don't you judge me?" Or don't, or it's just like, "Oh, I'm judging you." Well, first of all, everyone judges everyone. All day, every day, we're making it's not always informed decisions because a lot of y'all motherfuckers don't research or anything. You make snap decisions. But we make decisions of people, places, and things based on our perception, our experiences, and how we look at the world. We all judge. Every single one of us judges others, whether it be good things or bad things. And this is why I don't really care about judgments. And then we only call them judgments when they're said out loud. Everyone's thinking things all the time. They just don't say them. It's all about the perception. But anytime we hear something negative, it's always like, "Oh, don't judge me." Can you imagine someone's like, "Oh, Kevin, they're like, "Oh, Kevin, you're so funny." I'm like, "Don't judge me." Like, can you imagine? Like, can you imagine? But I also don't get into that. And I think I thought about it because people have always asked, not always asked me, but a lot of people say that I am unapologetically me. The first time I heard it, I was just like, "Oh, okay." And then I started hearing it by other people. They're like, "Kevin, you're just you. Like, you literally are like, here I am." And I wear that as a badge of honor. I am very much like, here I am. Like, this is who I am. Like, and I think because I didn't let judgments get the best of me at a certain point. There was a time where I lived for everybody else. And this kind of goes into the whole selfish episode I did 3 weeks ago now. I lived for everybody else, and I was concerned about how people perceived me, and I didn't want to be seen as this or that. But when you do that and live for everybody else, you miss out on your own opportunities to be yourself, and you also won't actually get what you desire because you're not being vocal about it. You know what I mean? So I remember when I first started blogging, when I first started doing YouTube videos, not blogging, like written content I was okay with. But when I was like doing like YouTube, that first year of videos, I actually don't like them at all. And the reason was I wasn't being myself like at all because I was afraid of the judgment. I didn't want negative comments. I didn't want to make my family feel weird. I didn't want people to, be like, "Oh my God, Kevin's so inappropriate." Like that was just like my worst fear as I was 23 at the time, I believe, 23, 24. 23. I didn't want to deal with the backlash if I said something like kind of how I am now on the podcast, how I just say whatever the fuck it is I want to say. Yeah, I never would have done that then because I was so concerned about it. But it caused my content to be dry as fucking boring. Like my content will fall flat and I will watch it being like, this just isn't that good. And I just didn't like it. And it wasn't until I started just being who I was. And I remember I got called out a couple times. The first time was somebody I was dating. And we were like, I would always like joke with him and stuff like that. And I would do a video and he'd be like, "I feel like you're not being yourself in the video." It's like you it seems like you're scripted or something. It's just not, it's like you turn on this persona and it's not fully you, but you are actually way funnier in person. So why not just be you? And I was like, "I don't know. I don't want to say this," and stuff like that. And then Derek Briggs of ADTV, when I went to New York in 2012, we did like a video together, and he kept stopping it and be like, who the fuck is this? He's all like, who are you being right now? I want the dude that was just talking shit like at brunch, like bring that. And I'm like, okay, you know, it took me a while because I got caught up into the whole idea of, number one, you know, you work in corporate America, and if they see that, they may not hire you. I got caught into that whole respectability thing. And then also, I didn't want to be, you know, too crazy. But then I got to the place where I'm like, fuck it. Fuck it. This is who I am. And that's when you draw people, because you're being authentically you. So I had to get out of the place of even caring about what people thought of me. And there's freedom in that, because everybody is thinking something. And guess what? For every person that thinks something positive about you, there's someone who thinks something negative about you, and you can't stop it. No one likes everybody, and that is the beauty of life, honestly. Or no one is liked by everybody. And it's beautiful, honestly, because that's how you know who really rocks with you, you know, versus people who don't like you. And so once you figure that out, and figure out who your real friends and supporters are, you move forward and be who the fuck you are. And so I stopped caring about judgment, and it really freed me from shame. It freed me from control of content, because I have people all the time. I mean, to this day, I mean, people watch, they're not too for it like they used to be, but like if I post like something like in my underwear, or if I'm shirtless, you know, you occasionally get people like, ooh, you being bad, I see, or, oh, like you wrong for this and you need to cover up. And I'm always kind of like, nigga, no, I don't. Like, I'm a grown ass man. And I pay my bills, and what are you talking about? Like, I don't answer to anybody but myself. So what are you talking about? Like, I'm living the way that I want to live. But what it is people will project their fear onto you, because they don't have that same freedom, or they are concerned about what people think. Because you always people like, oh, people are going to say this about you. Who gives a fuck? People are going to talk no matter what. No matter what. So do what you're going to do. Do what you're going to do and enjoy it. And I think I get what I want because I do what I want. And I'm not concerned about judgment. Now, I've talked about this before. Like, as far as perception, the only thing I don't want to be to someone is, I guess, ruthless or hateful. That's the only perception I would actually care, like I would actually be affected by if someone said that about me. Like, oh my God, he was so rude and mean and an asshole, because I know that's actually not me unless you did something to deserve it. I'm never just like willfully just rude to people or mean or heartless. You know what I mean? So that's the one perception that would probably get to me. Outside of that, you can say whatever. Oh, he is inappropriate, he's thotty, I don't care about none of that, because guess what? Closed mouths don't get fed. So once again, like I said in another show, calling somebody a hoe don't ever stop them from getting dick. So if that's what you want, say that's what you want and talk about it and be about it. Who gives a fuck about these people? No one actually cares. Live your life. People are only talking about you because you're giving them something to talk about. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. That just means their lives are boring. Their lives are boring as fuck. And that, it just is what it is. So ultimately, I think we got to get past the place of where we care about what people think of us. Like, especially when it comes to like mundane shit. Like, I can't stand when people hop on Facebook or Instagram or wherever talking about don't judge me, but I like or I don't like. Who cares? Your dislikes and likes are yours to have, and that's okay. You shouldn't feel like, don't even give people the place to judge you. For example, I think when people say don't judge me, it actually makes people judge them, or it makes people outwardly say what they feel about it versus just keeping it to themselves. I don't ever start anything with that because I don't give a fuck. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. And if you don't like it, oh well. And if you say something that's out of pocket, I am a nigga who deletes comments, and it's okay. It's my fucking profile. It's my page. People have this idea, well, you put it out there, I can say something. You sure the fuck can, and I can delete it. You know what I mean? Like, a right to an opinion doesn't keep you from getting your ass beat or cussed out. You know what I mean? But I don't do that either. I don't even acknowledge people who say negative things. I literally delete and move on. Cause that's my world. I don't live by these rules of like, oh my God, people are gonna think this or do this. Who cares? Live your life, because my closest friends, like, they support me no matter what. And I think that's what's dope. They support my antics. They support it because they like me for who I am. And that's what everybody needs. People need people in their corners who support them for who they are and want them to be themselves. That's what you need. And so their opinions matter to an extent. My closest friends, yeah, if they pull me to the side and be like, hey, this is kind of off base, cool. But even that has its limits. Even that has its limits, because I'm still going to honor myself first. You can't get so caught up into judgment. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't allow society to get you caught up into that, because everybody's judging, everybody's formulating opinions, even you. So if that's keeping you from going out for a certain job, is it keeping you from writing that book, if it's keeping you from making that video, if it's keeping you from being a total thought, like, stop. Go get what you want, because this life is not promised. Do what you want now and get it done. Don't worry about judgment of others. Like, fuck them. Fuck them. Like, live your life. And is judgment really that big of a deal? Like, I feel like there was a point in time, I'm talking about medieval times. There was a point in time that if you weren't acceptable by society, they could cast you out and kill you. You know what I mean? There was a point of that where you had to kind of go with the flow of the community, go with the flow of culture, and you could be, killed or something like that. And there are some places in the world where it's still like that, like in Jamaica, for example. Like, I'm a free black gay man, but I'm in America. I know if I was in Jamaica, I would probably be fearing for my life all the time, and I probably would be falling for some respectability politics. I probably wouldn't be as for it as I am right now, because in Jamaica, people literally get machetes taken to their heads and shit, and like, it's just not safe for gay men there, because because of their views on homosexuality, and it's just a dangerous place to live. So it'd be different, So I get wanting to be safe, but over here, it's not quite that way. I mean, yeah, there are some people there's still hate crimes are still big. People are still being killed. I'm not negating that. But at the same time, we still live in a society where you can get away with a lot more and being individual without it being a real hit to your livelihood. You know what I mean? We don't live in a time where it's like, oh my God, you don't believe in God, off with your head. Oh my God, you're gay. Where, burn at the stake. We're not in that time. And I think people behave as though we are. You may lose some friends. Okay, so what? They weren't your friends in the first place. You may lose some family. Fuck them too. Blood is the only thing connecting y'all. You ain't gotta like your family. And that's a whole nother episode. You know what I mean? Live your life. Live your life. Whether it means being gay, whether it means writing that book, doing that blog post, nude photography, whatever. Do it. Don't worry about the opinion of others. Like, it's not even worth it. Everybody has opinions. Everybody judges. It's not the end of the world. As long as it doesn't affect your bank account or your freedom, who cares what people think? Because once again, for every person that likes you, there's someone who dislikes you. So there's that. I also have to note that I do speak from a place of privilege. My situation is just different. And I've talked about that before when it comes to family. My family dynamic is just different. I was raised by my aunt and uncle, and since I was like, I want to say, I was a baby. It wasn't like quite newborn, but I was a baby, and they were the only ones whose opinions I cared about, to be honest with you, when it came to like finalize things. But they also kind of let me be free in a sense, if that makes sense. But ultimately, they've passed on. They died in 2012, both of them. So that freed me to be like individual, honestly, because I didn't care about anybody else's opinions. But I know there are a lot of people who their parents are still here and their siblings are still, there, and they do care about the opinions. They don't want to feel like they're at odds with their family. So I do want to note that I get it. I absolutely get it. My situation is just different. I live for self because that's what I have. I don't have a family dynamic that keeps me from being me. Like, no one's that invested in my life that I can't do what the fuck I want to do. So I do want to say I'm speaking from a place of privilege. Don't mess up your dynamics if it means a lot to you. But I also don't want you to not live the life you want to live based on someone else's box that they've placed you in. So I definitely want to know that. Yeah, so whatever. Moving on. Another thing that I wanted to discuss, I was talking to a friend of mine, and they were venting to me about someone, a friend of theirs was I guess he's going through kind of like a divorce or something like that. And he got mad at them for not answering the phone so he could talk about, all that was going on with the divorce. And they were like, do I have to, like, even as a friend, like, I can be there for you, but there are times where I'm probably not in the mood for it. And I don't feel like it's a rule that I have to deal with it. And I was like, I completely agree. Like, I completely agree. So let's talk about this. So think about, listeners, think about your friendships and think about your closest friends. If your friends are going through something, yes, you should be there for them. But let's say after a while, there's a day that you're not having a good day or your energy isn't right and you would rather peace that day, or you're just not in the mood to deal with their shit. Do you feel like you're obligated to just be like, oh, well, let me answer the phone so they can rant and rave? Like, what are your thoughts on that? Please let me know in the comments and stuff like that, because I feel like there are times where when we're going through things, we have to realize that people don't have to be our therapists. Like, that's what therapy is actually for. Go find a therapist, write a journal or something like that. Yes, as a friend, I love to be there for my friends. Like, I love to be the person that people call and talk to. But I do know that when I'm not 100%, I can't take on other people's stuff because I cannot pour from an empty cup. So there are days where I'm like, if someone's being negative, I probably won't respond, or I'll wait until I'm in a place to respond, or I won't be available to do that. But I also don't feel like my friends have a place to be like, you asshole, why weren't you available so I could rant to you? I don't feel like my friends have a right to do that because I would never do that to them. So so what do you guys think? Do you feel like as someone's friend, you should always be available to deal with their shit? Or do you feel like your friend should always be available to deal with yours? Because I think it's one of those social awareness things that people need to kind of realize. You have to kind of gauge a situation. Like, your energy, if it's negative, you're transferring it. And do you feel like it's right for you to always transfer your shit to somebody else rather than dealing with it? Like, it's one thing, for example, a lot of people have been through terrible breakups. You're heartbroken. And, those first couple weeks, your friends are like, oh, it's all right. Let's go fuck him up and let's go out. Fuck that nigga. You're going to find you another nigga. Let's get, they're there for you. But we also have friends like at a certain point, they'll be like, okay, it's been months, girl. I need you to stop talking about it and move on. And why that is because you're starting to drain their energy. At a certain point, you have to pick yourself up and get through some things. Or even when it's the tumultuous relationships where you break up and get back together, break up and get back together. And then you have those friends who are like, you know what? I supported you the first time, but now I'm tired of hearing about him. If you get back with him, I don't want to hear about it, because it's a transfer of energy and you're taking your friends up and down. So I come from the opinion of our friends don't have to be our sounding boards. They don't have to be. It's a great quality, especially when you're going through some stuff. Yeah, be a shoulder. Like, we talked to Elliot when we were on the show. We talk about it. Show up for your friends when they're going through things. Absolutely, show up. But there is an expiration on that. At a certain point, you got to pick yourself up, or take yourself to a therapist, or find a way to have an outlet. Your friends can't always be 100% available to you all the time just for you to rant and rave, because that negative energy transfers over. But I definitely want to know you guys' thoughts, though. Let me know what your thoughts on that are, and let me know. I love to hear different perceptions and stuff like that. But I think it's an interesting conversation. Like, yeah. So let me know. Should your friends be 100% available all the time for you to bitch and moan about things that are going on in your life? Or is there a limit to that? Is there a certain point where you have to take personal responsibility and say, all right, I had my moment to rant about this, but I don't want to transfer this energy anymore. I'm going to deal with this myself, or find another friend to bitch and moan to. Like, don't have just one person that you have to constantly just talk to all day about it, because, let me know your thoughts. But I do stand on the fact that there is a limit to it. I would never want to transfer negative energy to somebody else, especially if they're in a good mood. Why would I want to take them down? That's trash. But yeah, that is that. I hope you guys have an excellent day and week. It is another month. The year is winding down. Thank you so much for the comments. Thank you so much for the ratings. The podcast is now on TuneIn Radio as well. So you can listen to it on TuneIn, Stitcher, SoundCloud, KevinDwayne.com, Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music. We're getting up there, but thank you for rating. If you haven't, please do on Apple Podcasts. Everyone who's listening now, please share this. Everyone, please share it. Do me a favor. Take your favorite quote from today's show, quote it, put hashtag the Outline Podcast, and put the link to this podcast. Whatever you're listening to it on, just press the share button and share it. Please do it. I'll retweet you and I'll comment. But yeah, if you're listening, put your favorite quote, hashtag the Outline Podcast, and a link to the show. I would greatly appreciate it. That share, because that's how we expand, and that's how we get the listens, and that's how we move on to better things. And there is more to come. I'm cooking up some more stuff that I want to do, because I do want to be more present throughout the week outside of the podcast. So I'm trying to come up with some ideas. Well, I have some ideas of things I want to do so that I'm more present throughout the week. So you'll have the podcast, maybe some written stuff, maybe video. I'm still ironing it out, but I do want to be more present throughout the week and just kind of, connect with you guys outside of just every Wednesday. But thank you so much. The support is awesome. And I know I stopped putting the numbers on the episodes, but I believe this is episode 66. And yeah, I still remember the first day I hopped on this mic, and it's come a long way, and I feel like it's going to continue to grow, and it's because of you guys. So thank you so much for always listening and supporting, and just, yeah, it's great. So have a great month. I'll talk to you next week. Have a great week. And yeah, peace out.